Hi, I'm Cheri with my girlfriend's quilt shop.
And I'm Sandra.
And we are here today to teach you about clear blue tiles. Have you ever been doing a project in the hoop and it's not quite big enough to do all of your quilting?
Your hoop's not big enough.
Yeah, your hoop's not big enough. It's so frustrating.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
But there are a couple of ways around it, and today we're going to go over one where you can use the clear blue tile files and clear blue tiles to get your quilting done on your project.
And I think because then you can put your applique on top of that, and then you don't have to worry about going to the next largest hoop, which you probably don't have.
Yep, so this is a way to do it, and we are working on the Picnic Quilt Block from Sippin on Sunshine, but this can be used on any project, so don't think that this is just for this project.
Or this block.
Or this block. So we're gonna start with, we have a piece of background fabric that is 10.5 by 12.5 that we need to quilt the whole thing. But our hoop is only 6 by 10.
Uh-oh.
Oh no. So what are we gonna do first?
The first thing we're gonna do is we're going to decide which file we need to use in order to make this work.
Okay, and how do we do that?
Well, we have to go to our quilting designs and decide which quilting size that we need to fill this piece of fabric.
Okay, so I kind of know roughly, like I have a 10-inch hoop and one of my sides is only 10.5 inches. So I'm like thinking I might need a 10-inch size and it's gonna be close enough. So I will double check my trim size and I can see that it is going to be large enough to do a 10-inch block.
The trim size for this particular block is 8.5 by 10.5.
Okay.
Okay, so our background piece is 10.5 by 12.5, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So we're gonna need to decide where we're going to put that background quilting on this piece of fabric in order to make my applique in the middle of it.
Okay.
Okay, so we've pulled out a 6 by 10 finished block clear blue tile.
All right.
And as I set that on my background, I'm looking at it going, okay, that covers half.
Yep.
And then I'm gonna kind of look at it here and that covers the other half.
And that's gonna give me up to about 1/4 inch. And so that looks fantastic.
Yeah.
That looks like a great match.
I think that will work perfect.
So now I need to go to my machine and I need to get the right file for my quilting. And I can double check to make sure it's gonna fit in my hoop. So we're gonna come up here to the machine, and if I look, the quilting on this is called Weather, and I've made 2 folders, and this one is block by block, so it says BBB, and this one is my clear blue tile, so it says CBTs. That way I can distinguish there is a difference. We're gonna pull up the wrong one just to show you what it would look like. So this is the block by block quilting that I usually use when I do my quilting on a project like this. And I'm gonna pull up the 6 by 10 file. And if you see around the edges here, this is my outline to do my placement for my batting and my fabric and all of that. But that is not gonna work because I don't want those lines on the
Yeah, you don't need them.
Yeah.
And you don't want them.
No,
right.
we don't want them. So we're gonna cancel that one. And we are going to come back up here and we're going to go in the clear blue tile files. And you get both of them, which is fantastic.
Oh, that's awesome that Kimberbell does all that,
Yep.
isn't it?
So now I'm gonna click on my 6 by 10 design right there. And I can see here, it's almost 6 and almost 10. So I've got the right one.
I think it's great. And there's no lines around it.
There's no lines around it. So when I do this quilting, we say it's edge to edge. It's not gonna touch and overlap, but it's going to look like an edge to edge design. So I'm going to set this and I'm ready to do quilting. Now I can't put 2 in my hoop. So
we're gonna have to do it twice.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do it twice. So we've got this all set to do the embroidery. And let's go back over to our fabric and take a look at how we need to prepare that.
So with our fabric, I've got my project batting and my background fabric put together. Then I'm gonna take my tile, my clear blue tile, and I'm going to lay it on there, and I'm going to kind of center it because my outside edges here are going to be trimmed. So I don't need to worry so much about those, but I want to make sure that it kind of matches in the center. I don't want it to overlap. I only want it just to kind of nest up to each other. I guess that's what I should say.
Yes.
So I've marked the center of my fabric. You can see where I've just kind of done a finger press, and I've kind of got a center mark right down here. So that's the center of my fabric. So I'm going to line this up right at the center of my fabric, top and bottom. Then I'm going to take my water-soluble pen, and I'm going to mark this. So the first thing I'm going to mark is the very center. Then I'm going to make these lines down the middle here, here. This gives you an arrow that shows you which direction you're going, that's to the top. And that kind of is important on some of your designs, because then that way you know which is the top of it and which, because they definitely, some of your quilting designs are definitely right. You don't want them upside down.
And this is really handy when you're trying to do even something larger, like maybe a baby quilt, because you might mark your whole quilt, and this will help you know exactly where to put those, because you might be also dealing with different sizes on those.
And I also, when I mark mine, I also like to put a little mark right here in the middle that shows me where the edge of that tile is. So then when I go to the next one, I can line it up. Now, I'm going to be using the same size, which is a 6 by 10. If you are using a couple of different sizes in your files, you would definitely want to put 6 by 10 in this little block, so that when you're marking an entire quilt, you will know which file to pull up in your machine.
It makes it really handy when you're like, this is a 6 by 10, and now maybe I was a little bit short and I only had to do a 6 by 8, and you're like, oh no, which one was that?
Yeah.
So if you mark it, it definitely is helpful. But we just have 2, and I think we'll be okay.
I think we're good. So then I'm going to move it over to this side and just kind of line up that same line there over here on this side, and I'm going to mark it again. So my center, the direction I'm going, and then my crosshairs. That helps us line it up in our machine so that it goes exactly where we want it to be. So that's how we're going to line it.
Okay, so this is a big block for my little hoop.
Yes.
But I am able to do all of that quilting.
All in 2 hooping.
And 2 hoopings.
And 2 hoopings. Okay, so then the next thing I'm doing is I've got my 6 by 10 hoop, and I have my light mesh cutaway, and I have my lines on my hoop right here that I'm going to line up with this right here. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a look here, and I kind of like pretty much eyeball it, but my machine's going to help me line it up even better. So I'm going to line that up right there. Looks like I've got this there and that there. Another thing that I will do is I will take a ruler and do that. I will kind of put that on my ruler right there, and I can see that I've done pretty good
close.
right there.
You are really good at eyeballing that.
And then I'm going to put it on this side here, and I'm going to use my fingernail to get right there on that hoop. Oh, I'm off right there. I can see that. And I'm going to pull that down. I can also use my line from this one, as long as they're the same. I can use my line from there, and I can feel that right there. And I think I've got it.
The other thing is a lot of hoops come with a plastic grid that you can place over this, and it will show you right where that center is.
Yes.
So if you have those, pull them out, because sometimes I think we put them away and we're like, I don't even know what that's for, but that is what they're for.
Yeah. And then with this one, I could just float this, but I'm going to just be a little bit more assured of myself so that it doesn't move. And I'm going to put some Kimberbell tape at the top and the bottom of that, just like that. Okay, Cheri, what do you think?
All right, I think it looks great. Let's take it over to the machine. And we're gonna make sure it's centered. And on this machine, we have a laser that we can turn on. And we can see right there that we're off just a little bit and we can move it. If you do not have a laser, the other thing you can do is just turn your hand wheel forward and it will drop your needle and you can see where you're at. We're gonna come over to our layout and we're going to move it. So we're gonna move it over to the right just a little.
Hey, I thought that's pretty dang good.
It is really good. I mean, it's like four little pushes and we've got that lined right up.
And sometimes you do have some leeway and you can maneuver it and move it. Sometimes you have to be a little bit more accurate, depending on your hoop size.
I would say this one's pretty accurate. Like you usually have 2 or 3 spots you can move. You don't usually have an inch, so you have to get it closer than that.
Yep.
Okay, so we have that ready to go and we are ready to do our embroidery.
Okay.
Are you nervous?
No.
No, because this is going to be so quick and easy.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and start embroidering. And do know that when that moves, that's just moving to where the design is. You do still need to start in the middle and it will move to where that design starts.
And off we go.
Yep. I love watching that machine embroider. Let's take it out and get ready for the scary part.
Oh. So we've got that first half done. Now what we need to do is take it out and rehoop it and go to the second one. And I'm going to cut my stabilizer out. Doesn't have to be all the way, but I just kind of do around the design there a little bit. Careful not to cut my project
I was gonna say,
itself.
that's why it's the scary part. You have to remember not to cut your project up.
Yeah. Then I'm going to take my hoop again. I'm going to put in a new piece of stabilizer here.
And we've already marked this quilt, so we don't have to do that again. We're able to just get it centered and then we'll be able to place it.
Now remember, I did my arrows that showed this way is up, okay? And so I need to make sure that the last time I had it like this, and now I need to move it this direction. What would happen if I did it this direction?
On this design, it would be okay.
I think it would be too.
But on some designs, it won't be. And
Right.
so you want to make sure you have that the same direction as your arrow.
And so I am going to go ahead and put it at the same direction as my arrow there. And again, I'm going to kind of eyeball that a little bit there. Okay, and then I'm going to take my tape, but I'm going to double check it. Remember how I did that with my ruler.
That looks pretty good.
I think I did okay. And the biggest thing is not to get it tipped.
Yeah. And if you twist it a little bit, it usually works out okay. You might be a little bit closer and have a little bit more space, but
some designs are okay, some, again, depending on the design. Does it feel this? I feel that right there. I think we're good. I think we look pretty good, Cheri.
good.
All right, I've got that tape down. Seemed to work great.
All right, let's take it to the
And
machine.
back
And
to
we
the-
don't have to change our design because we're not changing the file size. But if we were, we would have to change our file to the correct size. So we're gonna put that in and I'm gonna put that laser on. And
Oh my
it
gosh.
is like right there. So we're gonna just go ahead and hit that button.
Spot on, huh?
Spot on. Good job, Sandra. And let's watch it embroider. All right, sounds like we finished embroidering. Let's take a look at the quilting.
So, Cheri, what do you think?
It's so beautiful.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know that you could really tell
Yeah.
where it starts and where it begins and, one side or the other.
Yep.
I think it's going to be great.
But now what do I do? What's my next step?
The next step is I've got to put my applique on top of it.
Yeah, and my applique is set to fit in a 6x10 hoop, and that's going to work, right?
I hope so. Yeah, if all else fails, I think it will.
So we have that stabilizer on there already. Do we need to use more stabilizer?
Well, not if your fabric can be hooped. I don't think we're going to need more stabilizer. So let's check it out. Let's see what we can do. Okay. So now when I hoop this, it's going to go this direction in
Okay.
my, oh gosh, what do you think, Cheri?
Look at, we left that little bit of stabilizer on there, and I think it's gonna
I
fit.
think it might work. What do you think?
I think so.
So now.
So do I need to center this one up?
Yeah, you do.
Okay, because that would be,
As best you can, okay? Because you're gonna trim this down.
yeah, we have about 2 inches.
Yeah. So you've got a little bit of leeway that way, so you're able to do that. But I'm going to try and center that. I've already got my center mark here.
Yeah, you do.
So I know where I'm at there. I know where I'm at on my hoop here. I also can take this and set it on top there. It's like, okay, that's gonna go right there. And I can maneuver this that direction. I'm gonna pull that down just ever so slightly there. And we're gonna hoop it up.
Oh, look at that.
What do you think?
So I didn't need to add a second layer, or a third layer, I guess, of stabilizer,
Yeah.
because it already has the stabilizer. It's already going to fit in that hoop. Look at that.
I think we're good.
Okay.
All right, let's bring up our design and see what we can do.
We're gonna get rid of it. So we'll just hit return, we'll delete this one, and we'll cancel it, and then we will come in to our files again, and we will choose, this is the 6x10 Picnic. There it is, right there.
Okay.
So let's set it.
So I think what we need to do is when we trim it, we need to make sure that we have a center mark on our design. So let's look here under this part here. And if we have, because see, it has a center mark
Center mark there.
And then take a look. So how about if we move it just ever so slightly?
Okay.
I mean, it's not going to be a big deal because, like I said, we're going to be able to trim this. That's the one great thing about Kimberbell, is that they do allow you to, they give you some leeway that way.
Yep.
So you have.
Okay, so that's right on that center crosshair and lines up perfectly with our other ones.
Okay. So let's hit OK on that, and we're going to hit back that way and sew.
And we're ready to sew.
So we're ready to do your applique now,
and this
correct?
one, yep, we're ready to do our applique. And so we're going to go ahead and do that, and we'll show you the finished project. All right.
So Cheri, are we done?
We finished embroidering our design. Let's pull it out
let's
and take a look.
Oh my goodness, look at that. It's perfect. It's right there where it needs to be too,
Yep,
isn't it?
it is.
The only thing is, look at all those blue lines
Look at
on
those
there.
blue lines. Well, and this design also happens to have some fringe with where we used a water-soluble bobbin. So we're going to have to get this wet anyway.
But I don't need to get the whole thing wet, do I?
Nope, just where those lines are and where that bobbin is.
So part of those lines are underneath that design, and they're never going to show, so that's not a problem. So let's take this out. Would I trim it first, or would you want me to?
I think I like to take the lines off first and let it dry, because
Okay.
then I'm able to take care of that, and the trim size will be perfect.
Okay, I think that's a good idea. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually do 2 in 1 because I need to do my fringe. So I'm just going to get that wet a little bit, right like that. And right there along that area. Okay. And then I'm just going to let that sit for a few minutes.
Okay.
Because then that kind of helps that thread to dissolve. But look, I
That line's
sprayed
already
that,
going away.
and that line's already going away a little bit.
And there it goes.
Magic.
Now, I will say once in a while when it dries, there'll be a little bit of a light line, and I just spray it again, and I have had no problem with that line going away. But it might take 1 or 2 times to get it all the way away.
Yeah, Kimberbell does recommend that you test the pen on whatever fabric you're using. So you could always test it on a corner and then spray it and make sure that it comes off. If you have fabric that maybe you don't want to get wet, then what I would recommend is those areas that you mark, like your center area and that, I would put a piece of Kimberbell tape down and then put that mark on there, and that will prevent you from having to do that. So once you get it lined up in the machine, you just take that tape off, and then you don't have to worry about using any marker on it if it's going to go away or not. So you just take that tape off, and then you go ahead and do your quilting, and it's all great and gone. So there it is, all ready to go.
And we just will, when it's all dry and everything, we will just trim it up using either a ruler or your orange pop rulers, which is great when you have these projects that don't have those placement lines and trim lines.
But there is one thing missing on this.
Yes.
Your sunglasses.
Yes, our sunglasses, because we opted to use the button.
We're going to put a button on that one right there, so it will, and we won't do that until it's all done. Yep. Before you put everything together. So there it is, guys. I think that works out perfect. I love it, and it makes it so that you're able to use those background quilting designs in a hoop size smaller than what is necessary. So, because this originally, when you would have to go up to an 8x12.
Yes, yes.
And if your machine doesn't have an 8x12, then you're like, oh no, what do I do?
And a 6x10 is a great hoop size. You're still able to do most of the designs from Kimberbell, but sometimes that quilting gets in the way.
It does. So we have a solution here for you, and I hope that everything turns out well, and just have fun. Happy sewing.
Yep, happy sewing and go quilt.